Alright guys, so I encountered this video and it says why I believe pastors can have private jets and be filthy rich. Of course, I thought to myself that it would be very good to react to this video, and here are we. So just follow up and let's go. Alright.
Okay, spoiler alert, this video is not only about private jets. There is a much bigger message that I really want you to take away from this video that will become clearer and clearer the closer to the end of this video that you get. Now, over the years, many well-known pastors and ministry leaders have been significantly criticized for owning private jets. And because we know the approximate value or cost of these private jets, many people have written these people off as if they are money hungry, greedy televangelists who are simply exploiting people out of their hard-earned money. Now, hold on for just a second. I promise we're going to get to the private jet conversation in just a moment. But before we do, I just want to explore a few reasons why many people have come to the conclusion that pastors...
All right, so really, there's a very big gap to be filled, right? Especially with people that call themselves secular pastors. And have you wondered, you see somebody, he says he's rich, he owns private jets, he owns schools, he owns institutions, he owns a lot of things, and you still have broke, poor, wretched, and helpless people in his congregation. And the worst thing is that they don't even have access to them. Like, they cannot access these people. They are not accessible. Yeah, you're there, they have security, they have protocols, you can't just access them. So little wonder one begins to think, is this really a body that is meant to save people, or is it just a business? I mean, a lot of times we just confused. We don't know what's really happening. We're thinking, is this really a business, or is it just an entity that is showcasing itself like a church, but actually is a business? All right, so follow me. Let's just go and see how everything happens.
Or ministry leaders should not be affluent. And the first one is because they say, well, pastors should be humble. Now, that is true. Pastors should be humble. But the first thing that I'm going to say is humility just reserved for pastors? Or should all Christians be humble? Last I checked, it's not just...
Okay, so when it comes to humility, of course, the Bible is very straightforward and specific. All Christians are supposed to be humble. But with respect to the leader, with respect to the leader in the congregation, they're supposed to be much more humble than the people they're leading, right? Okay, so it's just like a leader, people following you behind, right? People following you behind. So for you to really set good examples, you must have people that are willing to follow you because of your examples, right? Because of your examples. So a lot of time is not just about being humble, but it's about being the example of humility that people can emulate. And I think that's where they're getting it wrong, right? They just say, yes, everybody is supposed to be humble. Everybody is supposed to be humble. Yes, everybody is supposed to be humble. Every Christian is supposed to be humble. But the leader is supposed to be much more humble than his sheep, right? I mean, look at the case and scenario of Jesus. Jesus was always at the forefront. He was always leading. He was always showing examples. That is what our leaders, especially in the church, need to do. Right? Okay, so let's go.
Pastors and ministry leaders that should be humble. Every Christian should be humble. In other words, this idea of being humble and being meek is not reserved for ministry leaders, that we are not exempt either. Now, the second thing I want to say about this idea of humility is the fact that nowhere in the Bible does it connect necessarily humility to how much money you make. Because I know a lot of people who make a ton of money. They're filthy rich and you would never know it, and they are the nicest, most humble people that you'll ever meet. And then I know some people who are...
Yeah, humility. I don't know. I'm trying to connect this dot. Humility being linked with poverty. I don't think so. I don't think so. Poverty has no it has no correlation with humility, and one can be poor and very arrogant. One can be poor and yet very humble, right? Yeah, of course. So I think it has no correlation whatsoever.
flat broke. All right, they're very, very poor, but they are very, very cocky and arrogant. So to suggest that because someone has a lot of money, that they are therefore not humble, would not be a proper assessment. Now, the second thing that people will say with regard to ministers is that, you know what, Jesus was poor, and so therefore ministers need to be poor too, because Jesus, if you want to be like Jesus, you can't have a lot of money. Once again,
And on this particular point, I totally disagree with him, right? Let me tell you something. You see, the ministry of wealth was given to people. There are people that are giving the ministry of wealth, and you find out that you can do the same thing. You can just mimic them. You can do the very same moves they made, and you will never get the same results because it was their calling, it's their gifts, right? It's the blessing they were given. So, problem is that a lot of times we just want to be generic about things. Believe me, whether you are a leader or not, a church leader, maybe a pastor or whoever, if you are not given the calling of really having wealth, believe me, it's not going to work. And there's a notion I want to correct. People don't know this. When God blesses you with wealth, He expects that you're going to be blessed, be a blessing to the next person, right? You're going to be a blessing to people. So to whom much is given, much is expected. If God gives you so much wealth, it's not for you to start flying around the world, have a convenient life, private jet, you're feeling comfortable, you want to have a cozy house, cozy lifestyle, cozy everything. That is not why God gives that. The reason God blesses us, blesses you, maybe if you're a leader, you're a pastor or whoever, is to be a blessing. Is to be a blessing, right? That is why Jesus, the whole essence of it, when he was on earth, he will make visits to poor people, he will make visits to sick people, he will heal people. When people are hungry, he will feed them. This is the essence. He is the very essence of wealth itself. He was giving us an example in the book of 1 John that we should follow in his footsteps. So a lot of people just want to confuse it. It's not about owning private jets. And I can see a lot of young men today, they're very quick with the ministry. They want to grow. They want to blow as they use it. They want to become what they call stinkingly rich. Right? You heard that? Stinkingly rich. They want to become stinkingly rich. And I use my finger because quote and unquote. And that's a very wrong is a very wrong mindset. It's a mindset that is very destructive. That is not why God has given the grace. The grace is given that we can become what God really wants us to become. To be a blessing, to be winners, and to ensure that we bless people. That is the very essence why God has given these things. But such an unfortunate thing that there are misconceptions. People want to think what they want to think. They want to think. There was a time in Nigerian government that the government wanted to tax those pastors because they saw that these are people that are just trying to fend from the people, from having an organization, and you're not wanting to pay tax. You see? So, it's just another organization, as far as I'm concerned, trying to run another organization. And you're telling me that Jesus ain't poor. But your emphasis, your focus is poor. You see, while you're wanting to have a very good, cozy life, wanting to live very big, live large, live exotic, you've left the very essence of life itself. Well, let's see how it goes.
aren't all of us supposed to be like Jesus? Not just pastors, not just ministry leaders, but besides that, when we look at many, many other Christian leaders or people in the Bible whom God clearly had his hand on, people like Job, people like David, people like Solomon, they were very, very wealthy. And even at times, God said, you know what, if this wasn't...
Listen. When you're trying to give Christian examples, don't call Job, don't call Abraham, don't call these people. They were not Christians. Abraham, Isaac, Job, Daniel, they were Judaizers, right? They were the people that God used to build the foundation that was going to lead to the coming of Christ. And when Christ came, the Bible said in the book of Acts that it was in Antioch that they were first called Christians because they behaved like Christ, right? So I take exceptions to trying to call these people. There's a scenario that happens today. People want to justify things. They tell you, yes, Abraham was very rich. Yes, David was very rich. Yes, these men had their calling and they had a specific role they played in the genealogy of Christ, right? I'm beginning to think why Christ, while on earth, will tell the rich man, go and sell all you have and come and follow me. Because at that time, that was the message that he needed to hear. There are people that their wealth will become a problem to them. And I'm not saying that having wealth is wrong. No. Having wealth is good. Bible says money is a defense and it answereth all things, right? Having money, having wealth is good. It will make your life comfortable. It will give you options. But however, if you put your mind on wealth, if you put your mind on your treasure, it can hinder you from going further in life, right? So, we have to clear some things so that we have a foundational knowledge about whatever we're saying, so that we don't just be vague about things that are very, very serious, right? And at the end of the day, we have nowhere to go to. All right, so let's continue.
I'll give you more. And so this idea of, I should be poor and that will make me more like Jesus is once again just kind of a false assumption. Third thing, preachers should not be rich because many people in their congregation are not rich. Now, for this is an easy one. Listen, pastors are not responsible for the financial condition of those who follow them because some people...
And here again, they're not responsible for their financial condition. Can I really agree with this, right? Can I really agree with this? Because if you look at the word shepherd, Bible says shepherd the flock of God, which he purchased with his what? Blood. And at another instance, it says that a member shouldn't come to you. Maybe he's not looking well, he's not well dressed, and you're telling him, go, God will bless you, fill you and feed you and whatever. If you say that they're not responsible for their financial conditions, and meanwhile they are in prosperity, right? They have experienced prosperity, they are enjoying prosperity, and their members are dying of poverty. They've tried everything, nothing works. You're not doing anything to improve their condition. You're keeping the moves you know to yourself as a secret, right? Maybe you're trying to now sell it to them. Yeah, I'm not saying, of course, selling your intellectual property is not bad, it's good. But to some extent, you want to merchandise the things you know with your members. And you just see them as business opportunities. And you say, there's nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong with that, believe me. Because the Bible says that he became, though he was rich, for our sakes he became poor, that through his poverty we might become rich, right? We might become rich. And the Bible also says, if you water another's life, you yourself will be watered. We rise by lifting others. We rise by lifting others. We rise by lifting others. I totally disagree with this point of his. In fact, I would say that if you're a shepherd, if you're a leader, and your members aren't doing well and you're doing well, that should give you concern. Because a day will come when you need them, or you need to go to places, or people will come to check to see why Solomon was respected in the Bible when the Queen of Sheba visited her. Of course, he's not a Christian, remember. But there was a lesson for us to learn there. The Bible says when she saw the princes of Solomon, she saw the people serving him. She saw the glory they carried. She saw the prosperity they experienced. She saw the blessings that these people carried as a result of working with King Solomon. And she was blown out. So, she just was speechless. She was speechless. So this point of his, I say, no, I don't believe this. In fact, I do not believe this.
Might be rich because they made investments, or maybe they have an inheritance, or they just made good, solid financial decisions. And other people might be poor, maybe because they did not make necessarily the best decisions with their money or whatnot. So once again, that's kind of a false one as well. So now we get to the question, is it right for a pastor to have a private jet? Now, pay attention all the way through because, like I said,
Yeah. So before he goes on to give us all the reasons in the world, I want to say something, and I think I'm going to end this video after I say these things. If you want to watch out for this video, you want to see everything he said, you can go out there and search for this video, right? Of course, it's always there on YouTube. So, should pastors have private jets? Well, believe me, emphasis on having a private jet itself can be a problem, right? You're trying to save people, and the first thing you're doing when maybe God blesses you is that you're thinking of, how do I buy a private jet, right? But that is very wrong. That is very, very wrong. When you have all your focus and on more of your convenience, and rather than raising people, wise people raise other people, right? And I'm not saying that they should leave themselves out. No. But I'm saying that while you're rising, make sure you're lifting other people. A time will come when you've lifted others that perhaps when there's they've experienced prosperity, or people have experienced prosperity, they will say, wow, I know a particular man that I met. They've given him gifts of over 11 cars, members. How do you beat that? And in fact, they give him, he's looking for who to give it next. They're giving him, he's looking for who to bless it with, who to bless the next person near him. But the emphasis on the rave for when we are owning a private jet, of course, is wrong. I want to say it's wrong. You can appear overly materialistic. Though office of a pastor, of course, is meant to serve people. It's like a public figure. But when you have emphasis on wealth alone, on creating and building wealth, and you're not even concentrated about the souls of your members, you will end up walking and filling water in an empty, filling water in a basket that cannot hold anything. And that's why the Bible says some people's gods are their bellies. They just want to satisfy their bellies. So believe me, we must be very careful. Of course, I have a lot of things to say, but I beg to stop here. I followed the video. He said convenience and what have you. I know, those things, well, there are reasons, but there is also the emphasis on the soul. You must know that your destination as a leader, as a pastor or evangelist or an elder or a bishop, of course, all these titles mean the same thing. That's excluding evangelist. Your end goal is to take people to heaven, to ensure that you lead them to heaven, to ensure that they make it to heaven. Very, very important. So when people begin to miss it, they just want to think, now that money has started rolling in, I think I need a private jet. Wrong. That is not what the Bible is saying. Give me one place in the scripture that permits such, and I'll show you many other places that turns against that. So I don't believe that. I honestly don't believe this. Simple. Alright guys, so yeah, do subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, turn on the notification bell so that you can be well informed when I put up my next upload. Bye bye.